All right, so a lot of people obviously are not driving these days like they used to. So should they be adjusting their insurance policies? It's a good debate to have, and to have that debate, we're joined now by Kimberly Palmer, personal finance expert with NerdWallet. NerdWallet based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Thanks for being with us, Kimberly.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so to cancel, to suspend, it is a big debate, and it seems like if I just wanted to suspend it, it seems pretty simple, but that's really not the case here.
It can be a little more complicated. So it's not like pausing your Netflix subscription or something like that. You do have to call and see if you're eligible to have your car insurance suspended. And if you have a car loan, for example, you may not be eligible. But it's something to investigate because a lot of people are eligible for that. And if you're not driving your car at all right now, it can be a way to save.
Okay, so you say if you do have a loan, you may not be eligible. So there are some cases where you are eligible if you do still have an outstanding loan.
No, so if you do have a car loan in general, suspending your car insurance is
Uh,
not going to be available to you. But if you don't have a car loan, if you own your car fully, then it could be something to consider if also you are not driving at all. If you are still driving your car, even a little bit, you need to make sure you have car insurance.
okay, I'm curious because if I decided to suspend it and I'm not driving it, does that kind of put a dent in my rates down the road when I reinstall the suspension? I guess.
It can, because it can make you look like a riskier driver. Insurers will see that you had a gap in coverage. And so why you really want to think carefully before canceling or suspending your car insurance. So this is really something for people to consider if they're really struggling for cash, if they're not driving their car at all, and they're just looking for a way to cut back on their expenses.
Okay, I'm curious about just if I requested a COVID-19 kind of just delaying payment. Do you see your insurance companies allowing consumers to do that?
Yes, we are seeing that insurers are offering special circumstances to people who call and say they have been directly affected by the pandemic. So maybe they've been sick, they've lost their job because of the pandemic. As long as you explain that you have been directly affected, you're more likely to qualify for these programs that companies are rolling out.
Okay, what about reduced coverage when it comes to that?
Reduced coverage can be a great option for people that are driving less right now. Maybe you're not commuting anymore, for example. And so it's a really good idea to call your car insurance company, explain your changed circumstances, and see if you can reduce your coverage. And of course, that means you'll be paying less.
Paying less is always good, especially if you need that extra cash. Um, Removing myself from the policy, I don't know if this is another option out there. I mean, let's say it's a family of four, or even if you have teenagers who aren't driving right now, is it a good idea to maybe just take them off the policy? Will that bring down my payment? And not quite a suspension because I'm still making the payment.
If you take off your riskiest drivers, so for example, it might be a situation where that's the teenagers in your family, you take them off your policy, that can reduce the cost to you. But in many cases, it will, if for example, if you are considering removing yourself from the policy, it might not reduce the cost, and then it's really not worth the hassle. So it is something worth exploring if you do have riskier drivers and you can temporarily remove them.
Okay, and then the big C, the cancellation. Um, is it better to just suspend it and go that route, you think, Kimberly, or is canceling, a policy actually a good option here?
You definitely want to only cancel your policy as a last resort. This is if you are absolutely not driving, no one is driving the car, and you don't really foresee going back to driving the car anytime soon. Because of course, before you drive again, you will have to apply for and get a new policy and make sure that's in place. So it certainly is more of a hassle, and it's really only in more extreme circumstances.
Okay, if I do have to cancel, should there be any communication between the consumer and the Department of Motor Vehicles? I guess it depends what state you're in, but and
Yeah,
letting them know where you're at.
I would definitely call and check that, because what the last thing you want to do is run into trouble with the law on top of all of this. You want to make sure you're following all of the requirements. In many cases, you might have to really show and prove that you are not driving whatsoever before you cancel your insurance. And so that's why we really only recommend it as an absolute last resort if your circumstances have completely changed.
And then also, I mean, sometimes I've done this in the past. If I forgot a credit card payment by a few days, I'll pick up the phone, I'll call the bank and let them know, hey, it's on its way. So if we find ourselves being late on a payment, just call your insurance company and tell them, hey, it's on its way. Don't penalize me.
Yes, if you have been a good customer for years, then this is something that should be a pretty smooth conversation. You call, you let them know that you're late, your circumstances, and in most cases, they will say, thanks for telling us, no problem. We will make a note of that. So always call first.
All right. I'm curious about your thoughts. Just, my own insurance company, AAA, I've seen it just happened yesterday. I got like a 25% credit on my April payment that I had already paid, and then they gave me the credit back. It seems that insurance companies are doing what they can to help everyone out there during these times. Or do you feel like maybe they should be doing more? Maybe it should be 50%.
We are seeing this from a lot of big insurers. They're offering rebates or discounts if you're renewing your policy over the next 6 months or so. And it is something really positive that insurers are doing to help consumers out when really consumers are desperate for any help that they can get.
Yeah. Any other advice, Kimberly, out there before we let you go in regards to what people should be doing with those policies?
If you haven't gotten a proactive credit from your auto insurer yet, I think it is worth calling to see if they can do anything for you, especially if your driving habits can change. Because if you are driving a lot less than before, then you really shouldn't have to pay as much as you were previously. So always call and ask and see if you can negotiate some kind of discount if they haven't already offered that to you.
All right. Kimberly Palmer with Nerd Wallet. We appreciate your time. Be safe. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Of course.